their Gurdwara podcast, Guru Nanak Gurdwara Camberley.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So today we have Gurnam Singh and Manjit Kaur, husband and wife, and they've come from Leamington Spa to talk about, well, an open conversation about Sikh families.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll go straight into it, Bhai Sahib. So how do you see the dynamics of a Sikh family?
Okay, so I think there's two ways in which we can understand that. First of all, we need to understand all families and the dynamics that all families have to face, the wider social pressures, the changes that are happening in society. And then there are particular challenges that Sikh families, and when we talk about Sikh, we've got to be careful not to just narrow it down to Amritdhari Sikhs, because the vast majority of Sikhs are not Amritdhari and not even Kesatari. So the dynamic is going to be different for different kinds of families, but I'm sure that there are some things that we can pull out of that could help all Sikh families to navigate, I think, in what is an increasingly complex world. You know, the challenges are everywhere, I think, and we need to understand that as well, particularly if we're going to be engaging with young people and children. And if we don't do that, then I think it's going to be disastrous. But you, Manjit,
I think with myself is if we go back in history when our parents came over to this country, I think they saw some tough times, and obviously with the language barrier and with various racist issues and problems they had to go through. But that was a challenge for them as it was, and finding work and, you know, education and everything. They had to relearn from India education or other countries they came from. I think that was quite a big challenge for them, and it's like called sabr karna.
Yeah.
And you know, and their thinking was different, totally different to where we are. Say, I've been born and bred in this country, and the lifestyle they brought here, and you know, it was a quite tough one, and they just had to, like I said, sabr karna, and take it in and not show it out there, their emotions, their feelings. I think now is the reverse for nowadays generation.
I think you've made some really important points when you mentioned the word generation. So, you know, we're in our 60s. So where we, what you might call second generation, our parents came across into this country. Manjit was actually born in 62. I was born in 59, but we came in 62, so I was just 3 years old. But I guess I was kind of still very much influenced by Western culture because my childhood was here. But we were still very frightened of disobeying our parents. You know, there was that kind of very authoritarian. And I understand now why they had to be very strict, because, you know, they were facing the kind of racism that Manjit talks about. They've come to the other side of the world. And there was lots of racial violence in those days. And in fact, it was because of that racism that we all kind of stuck together. And but they were so busy working and defending that for them, religion or Sikhi didn't really come into it. What they did do was that they built the Gurdwaras and they established Punjabi schools. But I used to get sent to the Punjabi school, and I used to hate it because the teachers there were like authoritarian. They were teaching you kind of really old-fashioned, and that I just didn't like that way of learning. So, if anything, my experience in the Gurdwara put me off Sikhi, if I'm honest with you. There was a massive gap. But I think that our children's generation, so we could teach them, we could be a bridge. And then they're now living in a different world where they've got massive social media, they've got online, they've got so many more learning opportunities which weren't available in those days. So each generation faces its own challenges, but there's opportunities as well, I think. Like Camberley Gurdwara, for example, is a good example of what I would say.
Very good example
of a Gurdwara that's bridging generations. Not all Gurdwaras do that, and I think that's one of the solutions. How can we reach out to each other?
I just want to go fit back again. It's like when, for your parents at that time when we were growing up as children, all we had to look at our dad's face, his eyes, and you get frightened. You dare to say anything. You just see his eyes, gives you all the messages. Just you used to freeze. You know, you had no way to go to escape, and just obey. You weren't even allowed to use your mind to express yourself, to say anything. It was their mind was tapped into us and said.
But was that a good thing? How do you?
I think it was like, especially me, born and bred in the UK, I found it frustrating because I wanted to have my own voice. When you want your own voice and your own opinions, that was like, how dare you? Like parents say, how dare you?
Do you
even
think
question us? You know. So
but do you think it was like girls were treated differently to boys?
I think definitely there was that. Discrimination against boys and girls, like your siblings, and I find that very frustration because even when we basically you live two lives. One is a Punjabi household that you're living in and functioning in, and it was good. That's how you learn from the difficult times and difficult things. You mold into different like strengths, you can call it. At that time I did. I was like I was rebelling because you rebel. And the thing is, when you rebel, you do become wiser as well because you know that they all might bend to your thoughts and listen to you. But anyway, when I was outside in the real world, I was more functional. I was like normal.
Yeah. But now you've been through that process yourself as being a mother.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the way you've brought up, so you've got a daughter as well?
Of course.
Have you had them similar experiences where, you know, your parents have done to yourself with you both of you now to your kids and thinking, oh, that's why my mum and dad did that?
Yeah. So like I said, some things like what your parents did, you actually learn from them and they are good to apply it to yourself and to your children. And the other things you have to abolish them. You have to not even bring them in. I think some things are restriction and rules and all. Everyone has rules, but there's a limit to rules because how we brought up our children was very open and liberal. They knew. We make sure we taught them about our history, our Sikhi and everything. And we went to Ranswanya, you name it. We did everything with them together on camps, and they knew everything about what Sikhi is, the knowledge of Sikhi. And it's not that they didn't. And one thing we did do, we brought them up, no discrimination against each other. If my son can do something, so can my daughter. So there was quality. And like there's a lot of hypocrisy in our community. We have been told ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ 'ਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਕੁੜੀ 'ਚ ਜਾਂ ਬੁੜੀਆਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ 'ਚ, but there is. ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਹਿਣੀ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਨੀ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਰਕ ਹੈ. We're so different. Then acting and believing and doing it, there's another thing. I don't know if Gurnam.
I think for me, I mean, let's be honest, I didn't really have any good role models in terms of as parents. Okay, they struggled, but you know, I didn't really want to turn into my dad. He was very authoritarian, used shittar de naal sanu sodda si. But one thing I did do is I said that I'm not going to relate to my son like that. And there's a good example there, one situation. So if I came home from school, say I'd been in a fight or I'd got a bad report, then, you know, I knew that's my dad. That was his reaction. Because I think he saw me as almost like his property. I think that's what the parents saw the children as their property. And that it was to display to the relatives and to others, look at my, it's like, you know, I've got this fantastic Lamborghini and here's my son who's got all this really great grades and things. Yeah.
You start keeping the legacy going. Yeah. That's why they wanted to.
But then they didn't think about the kind of relationships that he had. So I tried to change that for my son. And this is a really good example. Manjit remember this. He was in a nursery school. I think he'd stolen some pencils. Yeah. He stole some pencils from school. It's nothing. And the teacher had kind of sent a message saying he stole some pencils. And so on that day, I confronted him. And he was only about, I was 6.
Sorry? He was only 6 years old.
6 years old. And I said, you know, tu chori kiti hai na. And he started.
I noticed first, and I said, "There," because his name's there, and I said, "There, Singh, where did you get these pencils? Because I didn't buy them for you." and I can as a mother, you can tell by the facial expression that there's something that when his face went red, and I said, "There, did you steal them from the school?" And he goes.
Yeah, and
he
so
goes,
that's
yes. And I said, "I tell you what, your dad's going to come.
Yeah.
You've told me, that's fine. Then daddy can have a chat with you."
So this is where I come in. And,
and he sort of chatted like,
so if this had been my papa, and he would have
that's what I mean, would have whacked him.
And actually, and honestly, I started crying. And I said, "We brought you up as a good Sikh. And I failed if you've done this." And he started crying, and we both kind of had a good weep about that. And then I said, "Well, what should we do to put it right?" And they said,
and I think it was good as a bond with you and
but it also made him.
That you...
I think if I'd have shit that man, he would have then become the victim. Yeah. He would have then said, he would have hated me for that rather than realise what went wrong. So that's not about being weak. I think sometimes we see that as men showing emotions as being weak. I think actually men not showing emotions is weakness. And that's one thing. My dad never showed any emotions ever. But I know that towards the end of his life, he was very vulnerable. And, we reconcile, don't we, over time. But, and I'm sure that my son has views about me as well. So each generation faces on challenges, what you might say external.
I just wanted to come here.
So they face these extrinsic challenges, but also internal challenges. So every generation will face that. We face that. My children will face that. And I think as good Sikhs, we need to be honest about that life is not easy.
It's a very good point that Gurnam made is when he said, like, sometimes you have to go into your child's world to understand what they're going through and how to engage with them and how can you respond to your child. And I think he did really well because I'm not saying because he's my partner, I'm saying in a real world, this is how he should be. It's like, I'm not saying you should be a friend, but you should give empathy, go into other people's world to understand what's their journey and how old are they, how much can they understand, and how much you can be like a friend as well, and not just say, "Oh man, I'm your father. It's my authority. If I say to you, you got to believe me, you got to do this and that." Like you impose on your children. You should let them express themselves. Let them say what they have to say as well, and listen to them.
But also realise that children have to rebel.
Of course,
in
they
order
have
to discover who they really are.
Yeah.
And you have to not see that as bad. And in Amritari family, so we're Amritari family. We brought them up. When they were born, we took them. So there comes a moment. Not all Amritari families, but quite a lot. And there comes a moment where their children rebel against that. And that's a critical moment how you respond. So around how old was he? He was about 16 years old.
You're talking about their thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was 15 to he was 15.
So when the adolescents and that stage in their life where they start to wanting to challenge your authority, they also want to discover the world for themselves. And their life was Sikhi, 7-7 Sikhi.
100%.
That's how their life was.
Yeah.
And then although he had started to grow a bit of beard, he has his Jura Pataka school. And, they start to get conscious of that, and the kids and in the school.
It's like curiosity.
Yeah. And then he said, did he speak to you?
Yeah,
first?
he did. So
this is a really important lesson that we learned.
So what happened was he's the only kid in the class. That
was in Leamington, yeah.
Yeah, the Mighton schools, And he was maybe the two kids had Patke, I'm not sure even. And he had a lot of confidence. I think he did really well all the way through. Like he was brave. He would go on his cycle and be happy and everything, and he had little mates. It's not that. Yeah. And I think the reason was there was because I'm not saying fathers don't see when their child in trouble, like in their mind, or they don't see signs. They do. Fathers do see that, but mothers do see more maybe, I think, in my...
I think mothers do.
Yeah.
She sees things that I
Maybe
miss.
because I'm a professional counsellor as a group therapist.
She sees things in me that I don't
I
know.
do. So, and I saw my son, and when he came through the door, he was 15, and I said, that's his son name, Serge.
That's your grandson.
Yeah, that's right. And I said, there, are you all right? How are you? And he comes straight and goes, hi, Mum. And I'm sitting on the sofa, and there's a mirror in front of a big mirror in front of our house, inside the room, and he's looking and he's going like this. And I said, hey, here we go. You sort of sense, because he'll never do that. And I said, you're right there. And he looks at me through the mirror, and I'm sitting there, and he goes, Mom. I said, yeah. And he goes, would you still love me if I trim my beard? And I go, there, I've never seen you since you were born. I've never even touched your hair. And I haven't even touched anything, and I've always seen you like that. But I will love you unconditionally, whatever choice you make. And you, my son. And I said, that's what my words were. And I said, don't worry. I said, your dad's going to come home, and then you can have a chat with him and see where you go. And I think then I hugged him, and I left him till, when you actually arrived in the evening.
Yeah. So that's a really tricky one, because, they're delicate, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you need to understand what's going on for them, their peer groups. Yeah. And, I think it's different if maybe they're surrounded with lots of good Sikhs and, and that's, again, the different challenges. If you go to schools and a lot of that, but they're isolated maybe, they may experience racism. They might feel bad about looking like that. Although I don't think he felt bad about it. I think it was more to do with most of his friends were Monni. And he said to me, he said, look, what if I trim my beard? Because I think, well, the daddy will not be thirty. And I think I said, well, if you're going to trim your beard, you might as well cut your hair. Kind of throw him back a bit. I said, well, Faith, you might as well do it properly. And he kind of didn't know what to say about that. Then I said, I tell you what, why don't we both do it? I said, why don't we both go to the barbers? And you get yours done, and I'll get my hair cut as well. And he started shaking. I said, what's up? He says, no, I can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. I said, why can't I do that? He says, you're my dad. I know you like you are.
He said,
I won't even recognise
you.
my father. Yeah. I said, मैं अपना पोते के दब छानूंगा फिर. And he never ever spoke about that again.
He's never ever done anything after that. And guess what? Because when we talked about Amrit, we never forced our children to have Amrit, ever. But we brought them in that way of life. And even my daughter I used to put a dastar on and everything. Bachpan to hi, like programs till jana dastar ban ke and everything. And my son, I never forced him to Amr Shakla hon.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to have he goes first, this is a funny one, I'm going to tell you this. Basically he goes to me, Mom, tu mille wife dekhni hai, you're going to find me a wife. And I said, no, I'm not. You're going to find your own wife. I'm not going to find your wife. And I said, I know you're going to go to university, and I know you're going to go there to study, and there's various things happening there as well. And you will learn yourself. And he said fine. And then I just left him to that. And then whatever he wanted, she done philosophy, and he saw her then, whatever, they got and married, whatever you can say. But before they was going to get married, he decided, he didn't have Amrit, she did. And he said, Mom, I'm ready to have my Amrit. Yeah. And he said, and I said, Pehla tu desing, apna nitnem sab kuch. He used to do it. He used to listen on the tape. Main tu sara pakka ho. Pehla, don't just go for it, because because we had to train ourselves. We done it for many years. I was 12 years old when I was doing my nitnem. You have to train yourself, and you have to be pakka before you step onto this. Apa soka samjhde hain karya be amar shak lana ta pe idle passe jida nahi sanu idda sab kuch mil jana.
But ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਦਿਆ, because we're talking about good Sikh families and how you can bring your children up, yeah? when they get to that kind of age towards adulthood, or even maybe 17, 16, those kind of, the ways we teach them Sikhi has got to change. Because up to that age, they're just going to children follow whatever you told them.
Yeah, and sometimes you want mini children, you want yourself to be that mini, what you weren't, you want them to be like that, and that's wrong, I think, as well.
So we began to spend a lot of time discussing Sikhi at home.
Yeah, we did.
And so once I can remember we were talking about, gays, because after that incident, I said, we used to discuss the value of gays, and you can talk about Bhai Taru Singh and the history and all that.
Yeah.
But that seems to be not enough, because they say, well, that was in the past. So one analogy, my son was into science, he's a scientist, so I used to use a lot of scientific analogies, and I said, well, let's look at, say, like a rose flower. I said, do you think that you could improve that flower by cutting the petals or shaping them yourself? He said, no, you can't do that. Nature has made a perfect fall. मैं क्या well रब ने भी सानू भी इतना ही बनाया.
Yeah, naturally.
We couldn't, by cutting it, you're not actually
going to look beautiful.
Improving it. And this is the other thing I said, we should talk about beauty, that, if we get trapped into this kind of physical beauty, then we won't see the inner beauty in others and ourselves. We'll just judge people by their appearance. And that's against Sikhi. Sikhi says, don't judge somebody by appearance. Yeah. So we began to weave our general kind of beliefs about life, like about treating people equally, not being racist, not discriminating, and loving humanity, which is what Sikhi is.
Yeah,
maybe, and that was in the. But then that also comes back at some point, because let's be honest, there are some families, and I'm gonna, if we think about examples. There's quite a lot of families where their children not only reject Sikhi, but they'll say, actually, I don't want to be married into a Punjabi family. Yeah, that's a big issue. Yeah. They call them mixed marriages. And maybe we can talk about the issue in terms of Gurdwara later on in marriages.
Definitely,
But it seems to me, we can't tell our children that Sikhi is against racism. And then when they say, well, okay, I want to choose somebody from a different...
Out of my dharma, yeah.
Forget the religion. They might just say, "Main gurna biyah karna."
Yeah.
And nowadays, a lot of children are professionals.
That's what
they go to university, they make friends.
Yeah.
And actually, most of them still get married in Punjabi families. Yeah. But there's still a significant number, an increasing number, who marry out. And that creates real conflict in families.
Yeah.
It can destroy families. And we really need to use Gurmat to deal and respond in those situations.
Could I ask?
Yeah.
When I'll ask both of you the same question, but when your son came and you had that conversation, how did you feel at the time about the Dari?
Right.
How did you feel when you heard them words coming out of his mouth?
My heart dropped when he actually said it. I didn't make it obvious for him, because I love him. And it doesn't matter what your children do. End of the they're your blood, and you love them to bits.
We did say that. We said that if you do decide to do that,
I did. Yeah,
you're still going to be our son, and we will love you. For eternity still.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want,
I don't want to push my children away.
There's too many families where they're broken apart. Guru Sahib ke na ko beri na hi begana. Sagal sam humko banai. Guru Sahib says I have no enmity. So why should we turn our children into our enemies, even if they decide to choose their own path?
Yeah.
I think what you have to do is, let me give you an example. Ish, we used to do TV debates and things, live debates. There was a debate. It was in Leicester, and this is going back many years now. And there was an issue about mixed marriages, and and people were just beginning to talk about that. Well, they cover it up, yeah?
Yeah.
So we had this discussion, and the consensus was that we should never, ever forsake our children. It's not that they've committed a crime if they've decided to marry outside of the caste, because caste or race or religion, they're still our children.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, there was a good Sikh Bibi on the panel who also said that. He said, "Apne bache kade bhi nahi thanu tyagane chahiye." Okay, mama boss, especially mama boss suffer kardi hai. Kei wari pe hunde kaddo bare nu nikal I couldn't apne ye hun mar gayi ya.
Yeah, ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮਰ ਗਈ ਇਹ
ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮਰ ਗਈ ਆ.
or him.
because
Either
India
way.
ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤਾਂ it was to do with honor.
It was.
In fact, you know about honor killings and honor violence.
Yeah.
We talk about Muslim and actually honor violence and honor killings happens across the board in that place.
That's right.
So we realised that we can't use those feudal mindsets with our children because these are never till. So anyway, so there was a general consensus that we should never ever push our children away and we should love them.
Yeah.
In fact, this BB said that we should reach out to them even if they've left here. So it's about 2 months after that program, wasn't it? No, more than about 3-4 months. We were at Coventry Gurdwara, and there was this this Gora Mundasaga, and there was a Indian Guri,
Goody.
and they had a couple of children, and Gore mixed race, Patka si bachyan de, and they came up to me. And they were in tears. You remember?
Yeah, I do. They came up to us.
They were in tears, and they said, "Can we talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I can." I said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "We want to thank you."
For doing that program.
He says, "I said, what? Thank you for having us." They said, "No, you've brought our families back together." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we saw that program that you did a few months ago, and the girl's mum contacted us, and we had a reunion. And she said that it's because of the program that she felt inspired, because she cut off her daughter 4 years ago.
Because
Margi.
the topic was about mixed marriages.
Yeah.
And
So she cut off her daughter 4 years ago. Margi, she didn't have no contact. And the irony was, oh God, na ਵਿਆਹ ਕੀਤਾ ਬੱਚੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਚ
yeah.
ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ 2 ਮੁੰਡੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਲ ਕੱਟੇ ਆ
They were the opposite. Yeah.
ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਚ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਦਾ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ
ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾ ਭੁਲਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ when ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਖਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਵੀ ਛੱਡ ਦੇਣੀ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਛੱਡ ਦੇਣਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਵੀ ਪਰ ਇਟਸ ਨੋਟ ਰਿਵਰਸ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਮ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਾਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਾਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਾਰਟਨਰ ਵੀ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ and they quite
they learn Punjabi.
They do. They have friends. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ friends ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਆਪਣੇ
We can give a lot of examples. Bhai Gurnam Singh, I know that it's different circumstances from basic Sikhi. His wife was Russian Gauri Sikhi.
She's still,
and so I don't think that we should, and it's actually quite normal now,
it's a norm.
Both amongst Amritaris
yeah
and amongst non-Amritaris. And surely there has to be a space for that in our families. People think that if Gurnam Singh too liberal both you're too open-minded.
But this is happening around the world.
I'm not liberal.
This is happening.
The world
in
is
front
liberal.
of us.
The children grow up. Look, once you send them to university, what do you expect them to?
ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਦੀ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੈਦੀ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਨਾ ਭੇਜੋ
exactly.
But do you think there's a difference? Because, like, from my point of view, I understand if it doesn't matter which race, colour they are, but if they're like Sikhs, if they're Amritari, and you know the person they're marrying is Amritari, then it doesn't make no difference.
No.
But then what you see more of is that the people who aren't Amritari, so the people who per se don't really follow Sikhi, but then they go and marry people from other faiths or other backgrounds, because then it comes an issue of if they don't have the Sikhi themselves, the other side doesn't have the Sikhi, then the Sikhi gets completely lost.
I just want to come in. There can be 2 or 3 type of people you're talking about. So one side I can talk about is that one might be quite committed to their own dharm, jidda Sikhi vech and everything. They don't have to be Gursikh, jidda munne apne hunde ya, same like that, right? And they still they value that so much deep down in their heart that they will have non-God, they'll have everything, right? And they will never give up that. And they will bring their budget, the names, they will have that. And even the partner will make an effort. Even if they don't come on Mardari, but they would make an effort to have that knowledge behind it. The other one could be that, confuse ya. They ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੱਚਾ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ confused ਬਹੁਤ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਧਰਮ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੱਖ and they will go either Christian ho juge ja kuch or I don't know.
It doesn't really make a difference to them because they don't really.
Exactly.
I don't think it's that. I mean,
there can be different various reasons
if you look
behind
at
this.
If you look at the research, atheism.
Many factors.
Atheism is the most widely held belief amongst many in this country now, educated professionals.
Of course they are, yeah.
Goryant bhi hai. I think Musliman shed cut hoga. That's partly because I think they're really doing forced religion on their children from a young age. They send them every day to schools and things.
Yeah.
But they also have very strict, you're not allowed to leave Islam, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Sikhi is a more open liberal in that sense. But I don't think that we should go down the Muslim path and become rigid. I think that will actually
that will destroy everything. Then,
and we can't because Sikhi is such an open.
Exactly.
So what we do is then we have to develop the ability to engage with people who, our children and their families, and culturally engage with them. I think that's important. When people get together.
Yeah.
But ajkal, you can teach Sikhi without say it's all about appearance, it's all about dress, it's all about case. A lot of people study Sikhi now and they don't look like Sikhs.
No, they don't. Exactly.
I mean, so like Satpal Singh, for example, I know you've had him on your podcast. By Satpal Singh, he's got a lot of followers on Nanak and many of them are just
in Sikhi at all.
But they're getting,
they get inspired by.
Remember when I went to Italy? I used to have a friend who was a Guru Shabad Singh Gatka master.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And in Rome, and so we went there for a week. He was one of my ustads many years ago. He said, "Come and stay with us," and then he took us to meet some of the Italian Sikhs, Gore.
Yeah.
And we used to meet them in the cafeterias and things. Many of them were just Monnes. But there's one guy, he recited Japji Sahib to me.
Definitely did.
Gorasi Italian. So people find Sikhi in lots of different ways now. And I think that, we just need to be much more open about that. I believe Sikhi is for the present and the future. But we have to engage young people in ways that it's meaningful for them.
Yeah.
And I know, yes, chete karo panj gurun de naam chete karo.
For example,
panj sahibzade karo.
Yeah.
But bachchiyan tak ki seemat hunda. When they get older, they want to go beyond.
They want to go beyond.
And I don't think the Gurdwaras are offering anything beyond that.
There's a lot of social media. There's a lot of other ways of, say, podcasts or they got so much knowledge now.
They have now.
Even, they're ready to go to uni or whatever,
But not in the Gurdwara. I mean,
not in the Gurdwara.
When's the last time you had a debate on Sikhi in the Gurdwara?
I don't remember
Any Gurdwara.
at all. No.
It just won't happen.
No.
And it won't happen because the committee haven't got the ability to engage in that debate.
No.
The Pracharaks have got no ability to engage.
They haven't got that level
The irony is, Guru Nanak did debating wherever he went. So that was our method.
Yeah, I mean, we've stopped doing that.
Goshtiyan karniyan. And children love to discuss and debate.
Oh, they love it.
That's the best way to learn,
And that's the best way, like on a round table, have when you're having your food, lunch or whatever, a cup of teas. That's when you talk to your children, have a dialogue, have a discussion with them, and they love it. They get wow, and they bring their point. Sometimes we think that we don't learn nothing from children or teenagers. We learn a lot.
So ish on that one, if we fast forward, So about again, I'm using our life as an example. So my son's very successful. He's a scientist at University at Warwick, and he's very thoughtful. I'm a very good Sikh here. But he used to say to me, he said, "Dad, I'm kind of drifting away from the kind of Sikhi that we the kind of performative Sikhi, if you like." And but then about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, around.
He said to me,
about 3 years.
Just as AI's kicked in, AI is doing amazing things. He started to use AI to begin to do Khoj of Gurbani. And he said, I want to read Guru Granth Sahib with you.
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean?
It was good in a way.
He said, can we, so we used to every Friday.
So every Fridays, we sit together. He'll come to our house. He didn't live far anyway, 10 minutes away.
And we'd sit on the screen, start from the beginning, from Ikunkar Satnam.
It was lovely.
And our plan was that in a couple of years' time, we'd get through the whole Guru Granth Sahib.
But no way.
6 months later, we were still struggling on Japji Sahib.
Yeah, it was
and
beautiful.
I'm not lying. he was insisting that we keep going, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Chalo, we don't do it now, but he's now...
He's doing his own.
He's developing programs on Gurbani, and he's kind of researching it. So,
and he still comes and have a dialogue with us and discuss with Gurnam as well.
So this is the key thing. I would say Sikhi is not a 100-meter race.
No, not
Sikhi
at all.
is a lifelong journey. It's like a marathon. And in that journey, you'll have your ups and your downs.
Everyone has it.
And when we have our downs, we have to be there for each other.
Definitely.
And there will be in Jardikla as well. The problem is, when one of ours falls, the other people take glee. And sadly, I've got to say this. Jathebandis are supposed to be there to support each other.
But they don't.
But nowadays, I think they've come here to almost do the opposite.
Yeah.
It's to pull each other down, which is tragic. I really feel that.
I feel the pain. I know I was obviously the younger. You were you were 18 when you had your. I was only 6 years old when I actually been in the Khanki Jatha, and I seen everything done, Jadda Martaville and everything. I've been there all from a child onwards, and even when I had my Keski and Gursikh, the Punji, I loved Punji. I don't know if...
He used to stay in the
he was amazing. He loved everyone. Doesn't matter if you got Keski, not Keski. He had so much pyar, and he was a Chardi Kala da Gursikh. Chardi Kala da. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਅੰਤ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਸੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੀਵਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੀ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਤਮ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀਗੇ
let me tell you about Bhai Jeevan Singh. When we were going to have Amrit, I was at university at the time. We didn't know which Baniya you should read because in the different Gotkas and there's SGPC, and we were confused. And then we said, Bhai Sabado Aisi Bhai Jeevan Singh Honey. First time he came to England, that was about 1979. And we said, we asked Bhai Sahab, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬਾਣੀਆਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ you know his answer was ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੁ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਸਕਦੇ ਪੁੱਤ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਲਿਓ
ਜਿੰਨੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਹੈ
he didn't say ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਆ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਜਾਓ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਜਾਓ ਹਨਾ that's good
that's the kind of Gursikhi ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ
ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ
ਉਹ ਕਰਨੀ
ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਢੱਡੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ 'ਚ ਆ you know and it shouldn't be like that ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਤਾਂ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਫ਼ਰਤ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ it's just it's like a sponge if you do pyar with it and give them ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੁਣੋ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੀ and support them that ਉਹ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵਿੱਚ
I understand what you're saying and I agree with what you're saying but then you have the flip side so like speaking to my parents, my bibbi, they used to say that, you know, back in the day, it wasn't just Shapanj Baniya, they used to do Asadivar, they used to do Sukni Sepad, Shabbat Zara, they used to do as much as they could. But nowadays, people are saying, oh, do you know what, you don't need to do Chopi Seb. You know, that's not in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. You know, you only need to do 3 Bani, that's GPC, say. And they're trying to cut down. rather than increase.
I tell you, ਜਿੰਨੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਨੰਦ ਲੈਣਾ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ you just want to do it and that's it ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ I don't like that ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸੁਖਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਰਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਬਾਣੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹ ਦਿਲ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਿੱਜੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੇਜਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ then you're not gaining anything
I'm going to be controversial now.
That's
I'm going to be
and you got to understand it first of all ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਫੇਰ ਕੋਈ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ
I'm going to be controversial now
I don't know about that
well it's no point
let's be honest
you know
ਜਥੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ I mean you know we've been in the Khanki Jatha from the beginning although I've never ever ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਕਿਤੋਂ ਛਕਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਛਕਿਆ I've never said because ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦਾ ਛਕਦੇ ਨਾ but you know we hung about with the Jatha Singhs a lot, very close, you know, to a lot of good Sikhs and things. And, you know, but one thing I've got to say is the state of the Jatha today is not what it used to be.
Never.
And I think that's because there's too many people who are into performing Sikhi.
Interference.
Not living Sikhi, है ना?
Interference.
So there's a big difference. So, you know, a lot of Naujawan say, no, tu inne paath karna, assi inne karne, assi inne japji sahib.
Ja tusi sahi nahi karde, hai na?
I think there's a dangerous path there because then it becomes a performative Sikhi.
It does.
I think Sikhi is about love. First and foremost, it's about love.
Number one is love.
You know, and, you know, I think it's about Gurbani nu rask gun gaave har jan. ਆਪਣੇ ਗੁਰਦੇਵ ਨਿਵਾਜਾ ਭਾਈ ਤਲਵਾਰੇ ਗਾਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਉਹ ਹੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ
so what does that mean ਰਸਕ
yeah
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਖਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਾਦਾ
ਉਹਦਾ ਸਵਾਦ ਲੈਣਾ
ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵਾਦ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਖਾਣਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਨ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਾਣਾ।
ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਨਾ,
ਕੁਆਂਟੀਟੀ ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਕੇ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ। And you know, I've been blessed to spend time with people like Gurdwara and all those good Sikhs,
people, yeah.
And they're so down to earth.
Yeah.
ਉਹ ਕਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕਰੋ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ। Honest to God,
ਚਾਨੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ
ਭਾਈ ਚਾਨੀ ਜੀ ਹੋਣੀ, you know, so
ਕਿੰਨੇ ਪਿਆਰੇ
so
ਸਾਰੇ।
we've distorted Sikhi is first and foremost ਜਿਨ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਕੀਓ
ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ
ਪਾਇਓ। ਜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਚ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸੋ ਜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਚ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਥੇ ਚ,
would it be in the situation we are? ਕਿੰਨੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਜਥੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ?
Would it be? I don't think it would be. ਹਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਆ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਫ਼ਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦੇ। doesn't matter what group you're in, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। there should be no divisions and separations।
ਟਕਸਾਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦੀ, ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਟਕਸਾਲ ਚੋਂ ਲਈ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਿਆ ਸੀ, ਗਿਆਨੀ ਗੁਰਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਸਾਊਥ ਹਾਲ ਵਾਲੇ, ਐਂਡ ਆਮ ਨਾਟ ਲਾਈਂਗ, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੰਥਿਆ ਲੈਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਨਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ
ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਹੋਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ,
ਜਪ ਨਿਤਨੇਮ ਕੀਤਾ। ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਂਝ ਗੁਣਾ ਕੇਰੀ ਸ਼ੋਰਟ ਆਫ ਗੁਣ ਚੱਲੀਏ, ਇਹ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਹੈ ਨਾ,
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁਣਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਂਝ ਕਰੋ। ਸੋ ਦੈਟਸ ਆਈ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਸੇ, if I've got some ਗੁਣ in me, ਮੈਂ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ, ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੁਣ ਲੈਣੇ ਆ। but we stopped exchanging ਗੁਣ। ਅਸੀਂ ਔਗਣ ਹੀ ਦੂਜੇ ਤੇ ਗਿਣੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਔਗਣ ਗਿਣਾਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੂਰ ਚਲ ਗਏ। So I think that's really important, and that philosophy, I think you can apply it to your own families, to your own children. You know, my children teach me so much.
ਬੱਚੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾਲੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ like ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ they're in the, my son is 39 and my daughter's going to turn 40, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਖਰੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਸਾਡੇ grandchildren ਇੰਨੇ intelligent are, like we one is 12, Harai Singh, and Kiv is 10, and Saj Singh like he's 5. So you learn a lot from ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਪਤਾ, ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੀ ਆ। But that's how you have that engagement with the children, and they love it. If you respect what they're saying, their value ਕਰੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਰਾ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਹੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ, ਚੱਲ ਠੀਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੈ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਰੋਧ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਬਾਵੋ ਨਾ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ flourish,
Reminds me when Bhai Jeevan Singh, he used to, any kid or anything used to say bye sav to them, even if they're already like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, and he used to give them a big smile on their face.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਜੀਵਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ, ਭਾਈ ਜੀਵਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਮੈਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਦਾਜ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਯੂ ਵਾਸ ਸੇਇੰਗ ਟੂ ਮਾਈ ਪੈਰੈਂਟਸ, ਕੀਰਤਨ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖੇ ਸੀ। ਸੱਗੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਸਵਿੰਦਰ ਹੋਣਾ ਤੋਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੜਕੀਆਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ 1-2 ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸਿੱਖੇ। ਸੋ ਮੇਰੀ ਲੜਕੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਰਨਾ। ਸੋ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨਾ ਯੂ ਲਰਨ about what's ਕੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ, you know.
ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, I know we wanted to explore this issue about the kind of interfaith marriages and the Gurdwaras. So, you know, we've done a lot of programs on this, helped to write documents about that. And there's still issues, there's still conflicts in some Gurdwaras, and there's different practices. But I believe there's a very simple solution. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ Camberley ਨੇ ਉਹੀ solution ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ, you know, you've established that. And I've written a paper about this, and I've thought about this a lot. To avoid any hypocrisy, because one of the reasons why people criticise those who are against interfaith marriages or mixed marriages, they say, when you marry 2 Punjabis who are not practicing Sikhi, or you know, the boy might cut his hair when he got shave garden there, then in what ways does the Guru sanction that? That's the argument for Ananda Karjana. There's a hypocrisy.
It is.
You know, so they might say, so say there's a Sikh girl and she wants to marry a Christian husband who's God-fearing, who you know, maybe lives his life according to some Sikh principles, and then you've got against a Punjabi boy who maybe is a drinker, who may be partying and things.
Or someone might be atheist.
So there might be an atheist. So there is a solution to that, simple. And in fact, I actually think ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਰਹਿਤ ਬਣੀ ਸੀ ਨਾ, that was the actual idea.
It was.
That ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਵਾਸਤੇ 4 ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੀ। ਸਿੱਖ ਰਹਿਤ ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ, ਪਹਿਲਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਜਨਮ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ। when you're born, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾਂ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ, you get the blessing from ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ। ਦੂਜਾ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਸੀ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ, you have your ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਵਿਆਹ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ। That was the idea. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਵਾਨੀ 'ਚ ਆ ਗਏ ਨਾ, when you've got to the age where you can make your own decision, ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੇਸ਼ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਫਿਰ ਤੀਜਾ ਸੀ ਆਨੰਦ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ। ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਿੱਖ ਰਹਿਤ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਵਿਆਹ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਸੀਗਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀਆਂ ਦਾ। It wasn't really meant for anybody else. According to that, and then the ਚੌਥਾ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਅੰਤਮ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ। ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਰਹਿਤ ਮੇਰਾ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ। So that was the issue. The reason why I think that they haven't applied that is because ਪੈਸਾ।
I think it's all
because
to do with
Gurdwaras make a lot of
it's
money
like business,
out of weddings.
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ,
they have to run them.
ਪਰ 90% ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਹਿਜਧਾਰੀ ਆ
ਮਨਜੀਤ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ, it wasn't an issue, but ਹੁਣ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਬੱਚੇ ਕਈ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, now it's become an issue partly because I think in England it's only an issue in England as far as I can see. It's not an issue
ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ, ਬਾਹਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਇੰਨਾ।
It's because ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆ ਗਈ ਆ and they're active. India, mixed marriages happen. Hindu, Sikh marriages is normal there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਆ ਕਿ if you're going to be consistent, and ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਧੱਕਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, and thirdly, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ, what better opportunity to do ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ than having non-Sikhs going through ceremonies in the Gurdwara.
ਇਹ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਘੱਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ।
But the way to do it is ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀਆਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ
separate
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਭਾਈ ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਗੋਰਾ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕੁਛ ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਕਰਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕ ਲਾ। ਸਮਝੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ? ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੇ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੰਦੋਬਸਤ
there's other ways of doing it,
ਸੋ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀਆਂ ਲਈ
ਸੁਖਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਰਾ ਲਓ, ਕੁਛ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰੋ, I don't know, different methods.
ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਧੀਆ ਸੈਰੇਮਨੀ ਬਣਾ ਦਿਓ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ I don't know, you know, something that feels like it's a kind of a wedding but it's not the Anand Karj.
In a different way.
And that would be for anybody.
Of course.
And I think on that ceremony we should be telling them about Sikhi and about how they should come towards Sikhi.
100%.
ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਕਰੇ।
ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ, and they learn that. ਉਹ knowledge ਵਧਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ।
And I think those people, because they wouldn't feel that they're being discriminated against because they're not Amritaris, then I think that they would feel it's a very fair alternative. I don't know what you think about that, Ish, but that feels like a logical solution.
So I was going to go ਆਪਣੀ ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਧੱਕ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਬਾਹਰ। We all saying ਸਾਡੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪੇ register ਕਰਾ ਕੇ whatever they're doing, I don't know, but this is the wrong way. Sikhi doesn't tell you this.
You running the Gurdwara, I mean you probably
sevadar hai, but I agree with you that we do. So what people say to us all the time is that the Gurdwara is for everyone. And I think there's a clear distinction that the Gurdwara Sahib is open to everyone. However, it should only be a Gursikh who takes care of Maharaj. It should only be a Gursikh who is able to do Kirtan in Darbar, in Sangat. But you see, you go to many Gurdwara Sahibs and they don't.
The only way that you can determine whether somebody is serious about Sikhi is Amrita. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't judge anybody else's commitment to Sikhi unless they've made that move. Therefore, you treat everybody just equally. Here's a ceremony for you. Some of you might come towards Sikhi, some of you might not.
The funny thing is, now we are talking about this, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। ਉਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੋਟ ਅ ਕਲੂ ਦ ਚਾਰ ਲਾਮਾ ਵਾਟ ਡਜ਼ ਹੀ ਮੀਨ। ਐਂਡ ਕਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਚਾਰ ਲਾਮਾ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਆ। ਦੇ ਡੋਂਟ। ਐਂਡ ਸਮ ਆਫ ਦਮ ਡੂ ਗੈਟ ਮੈਰਿਡ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ, ਮੈਂ ਮੰਨਦੀ ਉਹ ਠੀਕ ਆ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗਿਆਨ ਵੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ। ਐਂਡ ਦੀ ਅਦਰ ਥਿੰਗ ਇਜ਼, ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ 90% ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕੇ, ਉਹ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ, what you gonna do?
So that's one thing we have implemented is an Anand Karaj course. So that before anyone gets married, they have to sit the Anand Karaj course. And the Anand Karaj course goes through the Lava, the Bhat. It goes through what it means to actually be married. Because obviously the whole principle of marriage, Anand Karaj isn't a marriage between husband and wife.
No.
It's a unity with Waheguru.
Guru de naal ya.
So if people don't even understand that aspect of it,
then
they're kind of wasting their time.
Hanji.
But I was going to go to...
But just on this point, even Amritaris, how many marriages now end up in divorce?
So many now.
Amritaris and non-Amritaris.
So many.
There's quite a big number. Let's
be honest about it. That's reality. है ना?
So what's going on there?
Yeah.
If the whole idea of the Nandakaj is that this is a sworn commitment to each other for life, Guru de Agge. So the point I'm trying to make is this. We can idealize things. We can present everything as fantastic.
Beautifully, yeah.
But we know that there are lots of cracks, lots of challenges in our community. And we've only started scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
And the question is, if we want Sikhi... See, there's one view is the only way you can keep Sikhi to survive is to keep it pure, as it were, to keep it very narrow.
Yeah.
And that's a fair view.
Yeah.
And there are good Sikhs who say, ਅਸੀਂ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਹੋਵੇ,
ਪਰ
ਅਸੀਂ
ਹੋਵੇ
ਪੱਕੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ.
ਹਾਂ.
And I've got nothing against them.
Yeah.
But then there's another, we know that there are a lot more other people who are interested in Sikhi at different levels.
Yeah.
And the question is whether the Gurdwara should be catering for them or not. If it should, then we should try to accommodate them. And we can evolve our Maryada. Our Sikh Maryada is not written in tablets of stone. It was written in between 22 and 40 something, yeah? Before that, in the 19th century, a lot of the Sikh marriages used to happen around hovens and things like that.
That's right.
The Nandakaj was brought in partly to get Sikhs away from these festival ceremonies. So we can evolve. Sikhi has... Look, Bani nahi evolve honi. Bani ta Bani hai, sach hai na. As we were saying today, But we have to evolve the way in which we apply Bani in a changing world.
So, I just need to come here because then we'll lose the whole thing, I think. Gurnam, what Gurnam's saying is, I want to go a bit further to that. I want to say is like, if you look at marriages, Gursikhan diyan main gal kardi Amritariyan diyan, ajkal they've gone very, very modern, and they see each other, they go out with each other, and they know each other, and they usually this never happened. And the other thing is they have parties and they have like Gorejida Karde, everything, cake cutting and you name it. And Nandakaj comes afterwards. Now, I got nothing against that, but I'm saying this is where it's going now and we have to open our eyes to it and understand that.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. Was, so culturally, so I know you did a fantastic talk here a few months ago, which there is a YouTube link, which we'll put in the description if you want to watch it. So we talk about Punjabis. I'm going to use the term Punjabi v Sikhi because they're very two different cultures which people intertwine. And like you're saying now, the Western culture as well has got that mixture between the Western culture and Sikhi as well. And the three have combined. But what's your take on, so Punjabis, who want to get married, because currently they don't have a place to get married unless it's at Gurdwara Sahib. Compared to, obviously, we've spoken about the Sikhi way.
Yeah, okay, so it's a good point. So if you look at even the ceremony, the whole memorabilia, the whole kind of razzmatazz around Sikh marriages is 90% Punjabi culture. And you can find those same processes happening in Punjabi Muslims and in Punjabi Hindus, In fact, the only real difference is that Nandakaj.
That's
everything
a big issue.
Else that takes place is Punjabi culture. Now, the question is whether we have to make a distinction between the two. If we blur it, then we won't understand we lose what Sikhi is.
Exactly.
So, I think the Nandakaj is such a special occasion that the young people need to see it like that.
Very important.
A lot of them just see it as especially in India, as a kind of an excuse. In fact, in India, most people don't attend the Nandakaj. They just go to the
Gurdwaras are empty.
They're empty.
Family, main
and they push money to the Gyanti. Shedi karo, get it over and done with quickly. It's become a ritual.
Yeah, we need to talk about here really as well.
So I see. I'm really against rituals. If you're going to do an Nandakaj as a ritual, then na karo.
It's no point.
But if you're going to do it as... Think about for me, that was not a ritual. That was, for me, rebirth. The Nandakaj should be rebirth. And that's... ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ 4 ਘੰਟੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਰਹੇ
ਬਹੁਤ ਆਨੰਦ ਆਇਆ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਇੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਸੁਣਿਆ
ਆਸਾ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰਤਿਭਾ
ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਸੀਗੇ
ਸਾਡੀ ਲਾਵਾਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਹੋਇਆ, ਫਿਰ ਸਪੀਚਾਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ, ਤਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹੋਈ 4 ਘੰਟੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. And I don't know how I managed to sit for 4 hours, but there you are. But the point is this, it was rebirth.
Yeah, it was.
It was like new life. So that's how we should treat Nand Karj. And whoever gets the Nand Karj, whether it's Amartais or non-Amartais, that's what we should tell them. This is not everything else that goes on the mind. Oh, karo, but don't confuse the two. And
You're mixing the two.
That's where we've gone wrong.
Yeah, separate karna.
And I'll tell you one thing. Many years ago, I was asked to give a talk at Nand Karj. It was actually my brother Munda si.
Yeah.
He says, will you do a talk? Because my gore kafi friend on here. Well, they're for friends. They'd like you to say something in English about the marriage. So I explained the Nand Karj in English, Chad Lama. After the ceremony, there were so many people came up to me and said, if we'd have known this is what the Nand Karj is, I think our marriages have been much happier than they have been.
This is my point. A lot of people don't know.
They didn't even know what it meant.
Yeah.
And so, and this is important. The whole emphasis on the Chad Lama is that you build your love. You build it. The first stage is Karam Diraya, this idea that you fate has brought you together. Karam Diraya. And then you work through it, and then Jyoti Lama had a Sahaj paya. We were talking about timelessness today. Sahaj is where the two of you become so bound together that you are in effect one soul in 2 bodies. That's not at the beginning. At the beginning, you've come together.
Yeah.
Then the Chad Lama is saying you kamai karke. So that's really important, because in marriage life you have downs. You have moments where you might want to walk out on each other. But if you go back to the Lama, he says, Guru ne dassya hai kam hone hai. Sabr karna chahiye. You were saying about sabr.
Sabr is the key to everything.
But there shouldn't be violence in a marriage.
No, definitely
because
not. That's right.
If you're violent towards your partner, you've broken the contract that the Guru Sahib, because the Guru Sahib कहते तुसी एक दूसरे ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਨਾ जिन्हें प्रेम की हो तिन्हें ही प्रभ पायो जे तुझे violent
होंदियां in marriage तुसी गलबात
then you've broken the contract.
Listen to each other and try to understand each other's world.
Yeah, and if the partner walks out on you then and said dafa ho tu, then you're to blame, not the person. So koi violence nahi hona chahiye. We should try to understand each other, but realize it's hard work. But the rewards are the greater, and it's a long-term thing, not short-term.
Ajkal apa short-term hi dekhde divorce is happening because apa sabr jida we forgot about that. I'm not saying everyone has a right to be equal and ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਦਾ because ਇੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਉੱਚਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨੀਵੇਂ ਆ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਲਾਈਫ ਵਿੱਚ you have to work together. ਇਹਦਾ 2 ਪਹੀਏ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਚੱਲਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ.
So just try and sum up what you were saying with the culture side. You're saying that people need to identify that the Punjabi culture is different to Sikh.
Look, there's nothing wrong with culture. I don't like we have this Taliban kind of mindset among Sikhs as well.
Bit extreme.
Who are saying,
vanish everything.
I wouldn't support that. I love culture. I love art. I love music.
Same with me.
I love culture. But there are bad aspects of culture as well that we've got to avoid.
Maadiya cheezaਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ we have to.
So, for example, we used to, when I first came into Sikhi,
things like that. That's not so bad.
But like, for example, say ਵਿਆਹਾਂ ਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਡਾਂਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨਾ,
they play a role.
I think there's nothing wrong with ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ. Obviously, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦੂਜਾ ਅਸ਼ਲੀਲਤਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹ ਗਲਤ ਆ. The kind of ਕਾਮ ਵਾਸ਼ਨਾ.
It should be some boundaries.
But there are some ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. That kind of Taliban men. If you do that, you'll push people away from you. ਦੁਨੀਆ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੂਗੀ.
But I think more than anything, they're saying there's a time and place. So when you're getting married, it should be your Nand Karaj. So it's similar to yourselves, like Aisa Divar, you have your Nand Karaj. You have your langar, and that's the day.
Well, that's what
But people these days have a Friday night party.
Friday, it starts out nearly a whole week.
So this is a good
my
point.
point. I'm talking about good Sikh families do this.
But Manjit, that's about...
Maiyan lona falana kamna, they do it.
So
They
that's
do all
also
these
feudal
things.
culture.
Yeah.
That's part of feudal culture which we've got to get rid of.
Yeah.
Which is jodhar dikhani, apni taakat dikhani, to show people how you might pay £100,000 on a wedding. Actually, you're going to debt, or you've taken the money away from
30-40 grand they spend.
just because you have to prove to people that you can. That's against Sikhi. So I would say you need to drastically reduce the numbers that go to marriages. I think you should have close circles. In Canada, it's really good. Apparently, I've heard that they have the Nanak and everything's in the Gurdwara and that's it. And then they do their parties on other days. So je tusi kanniya and they go back to their own town and do the party. Kudi de family te boj na pavo. Because that's often happens.
ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਕਾਫੀ there's a difference ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬੋਝ ਦੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਕੁੜੀ ਨਾ they pay half ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਵੀ ਇਦਾਂ
now we've come to a better consensus there. But in the past, it was all put on the girl's
ਕੁੜੀ
side.
ਦੇ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਐਕਸਪੈਂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ.
What cultural aspects do you say that shouldn't happen then?
Well, we shouldn't have caste. We shouldn't use... Well, if we're going to abolish caste, we shouldn't have race. Determining whether a girl can
ਗੁਰਾਂ ਨੇ
marry a
ਦੱਸਿਆ
boy.
ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸੋਝੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਹੋਣੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਬ੍ਰੇਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਸਟ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ I
think the default position is ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ encourage ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਨਾ
ਅੱਛਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹਾਸਿਆ I want to say because
let me just finish this point.
Go on then.
So, people, I don't want people to think that we're saying ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭਾਈ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਰ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੱਟਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਿਖਾਣਾ ਨਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਆ ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧਣਾ ਪਊਗਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ you can't force your children to do anything.
That was my second point.
Yeah.
So that's the default position.
Bachche, they won't be like you.
No, that's the default position.
Them to. No, but we have these dreams. No. Oh, idda.
Well, that's the second point.
Yeah.
The default position is this is what you should, because as you Sikhi nu bhi bachana.
Of course.
But you also need to realise that life is not straightforward. Je thode bachche ne kiha vi ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਮਿਲ ਪਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁੜੀ ਮਿਲ ਪਈ ਮੈਂ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਰਿਹਾ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜੋਬ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਪੁੱਤ ਤੂੰ ਸੋਚ ਲਾ
ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਧਰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ
ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ don't push them away.
Yeah, that's what my point was.
Don't push them away at that point. Still support them.
Yeah. The funny thing is ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਲੜਕੇ ਨੇ ਨਾ he was looking for the man because apni partner apel labni you know what he said to me mom because this is I find it interesting and it's a bit funny as well mere father sahab si na kade nahi san dasse sadi jaat ki hai kade vi nahi ਨਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਮੰਮੀ ਮਦਰ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਕਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਗਾਲਾ ਗੋੜਾ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਰਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਦੈਟਸ ਵਾਈ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਵੀ ਗੇਨ ਦ ਗੁੱਡ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਨਵੀਆਂ ਚੰਗੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਰੱਖੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਂਡ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ but you don't talk about these things because you never were told and then ਮੇਰੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਲੜਕੇ ਨੇ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ when he found ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ suitable whatever he liked ਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੁੜੀ and ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮਮ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੀ ਪਤਾ the girl so I might have asked that what's your jaat or what I don't know and he goes what's our jaat and he goes I don't even know you never ever told us and he said I know but I'm not interested in that and we just had a little laugh about it ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਲੋਕ ਜਾਤਾਂ ਪਾਤਾਂ 'ਚ ਫਸੇ ਆ ਹਾਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀ ਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ and we still believe these things.
So I think it's getting reduced though, because I think our
things
generation,
are changing a bit. Your generation are changing.
It's like we didn't know what caste system was or anything until I went to uni. That's when I first heard about it. Yeah. But our parents have always said, especially our Bibi, that it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't. It's all irrelevant.
So there is this issue because ਪਹਿਲੀਆਂ ਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਨਾ ਵਿਚੋਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ there were these middlemen, yeah. ਪਿੰਡਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਲਾਗੀ they were the nais actually, you know, the barbers. You know, they say the barbers have more knowledge about the village than anyone else because they talk to people. So ਪਿੰਡੀਆਂ ਚ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਨਾ and ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ they'll check out the caste and everything else like that And amongst Sikhs, we don't have consanguineous marriages. We don't have marriage within blood relatives.
Yeah, we don't.
Good reasons for that, because genetic disorders
You can mess up everything.
So ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਨਾਈ ਜਾਂ ਵਿਚੋਲੇ ਜਾਂ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੁੜੀ ਲੱਭਣੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਲੱਭਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਤਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਬਲੱਡ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ. That's why they used to often look for 2 ਪਿੰਡ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ, 2-3 ਪਿੰਡ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਉਹ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਸੀਗਾ. ਅੱਜ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਚੋਲਾ ਬਣਨ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਨਹੀਂ.
ਉਹ ਡਰਦੇ ਆ.
ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ? ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਯਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਵਿਚੋਲਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ
ਸਿਰ ਆਉਣਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ. ਐਗਜ਼ੈਕਟਲੀ. ਐਂਡ ਮੈਂ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ that they don't, because ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਆਪ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਕੁੜੀ ਦੇ, what they want to marry.
There's a double whammy now. First is divorce ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਡਰਦੇ ਆ. The second is a lot of young people saying ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਨਾ.
ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਆ.
So ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਐਕਸੈਪਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਊਗਾ, ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਆਪਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ.
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਨਾ, I do feel for them. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਤਰਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਤੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਇੰਨਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਸਨ ਕਰਕੇ, ਉਹ ਉਹਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਪਾਲਦੇ ਪਰੋਸਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਸਮਝ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ, ਅੱਧ ਚਾਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ.
ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇ ਆ ਹੁਣ, ਪੈਰੈਂਟਸ ਵਿਚੋਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣੇ, ਕੋਈ ਵੇਲੇ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਓਗੇ. ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਆਪ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਾਰਟਨਰ ਲੱਭ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ,
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੂਟੇਬਲ.
ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦੇਵੋ ਵੀ ਭਾਈ ਤੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ 'ਚ ਦੇਖ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈਆਂ ਚੰਗੀਆਂ, ਮਾਵਾਂ ਧੀਆਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਜਾਣੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਵੀ ਆ, ਦੇ ਮਿਕਸ ਵਿਦ ਈਚ ਅਦਰ. ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੀਬੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੀਬੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਮਿਕਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ. ਸੋ ਦੈਟਸ ਦ ਫਰਸਟ, ਇਹ ਅਸੂਲ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਦੱਸੋ ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਨਾਲ ਉੱਥੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਰਹਿਣਾ,
ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਮਾਣ ਕਰਨਾ.
ਦੂਜੀ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਆ, ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, you can go directly to their parents, you don't need to go to third parties.
No, you don't.
ਨਾਲੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਹੁਣ ਡੇਟਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਦੂਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਉਹ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਰਿਜ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ. ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦੇਣੀ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾ ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ, ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ. ਸੋ ਇਨ ਫੈਕਟ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਦੈਟ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਫੇਸਿੰਗ ਨਾਓ, ਦੇ ਫੇਸਡ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 30 years ago. ਫੇਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ. And so what they did in Malaysia is they started to organize Gurmat camps. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ, I think it was called Sikh Naujawan Sabha, on a big scale. We're talking about camps of 1,000 people. ਜਦੋਂ summer holidays ਵਿੱਚ.
Just to get to know each other.
And the parents used to send their girls and the boys.
I think it's a good thing.
Their primary motive is ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਊਗਾ. So they were pragmatic about how you do that. We have to be pragmatic. Sikhs we can't be rigid that ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ. We have to go with the times.
Well, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it.
It was my first one, so I was a bit nervous. Never done a podcast before. Thank you for having us.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you for joining the Gurdwara podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content.